if you're listening to this and you're not a runner, you don't have to run 100 miles. But health was one of my biggest values. It was keeping my body healthy, keeping my body strong. And prior to any of this running, I used to lift weights in the gym because I was going to raise 3 children by myself and I needed to be strong for them. At least I felt I needed to be strong for them. So I've actually I biked hundreds of thousands of miles. I've done 15 Ironman. I have, I don't know, 50 plus 100-mile runs under my belt. I'm not counting the 200s that have done it across the years or the 140 on Route 66. So, but I'm doing it and I find it amazing as I get older. The inspiration that stills and the motivation that stays with me. And I invite that energy for all of you. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Running Strong Mind Body Connection podcast. I'm your host, Karen Bonnet-Natraj, and today's episode is going to be just a little bit different. So usually I'm interviewing incredible runners or athletes and all sorts of holistic people, healthy people, in whatever people cross my path that can give value to my audience. And today I just want to sit down with you and talk about something personal to me so you guys get to know me a little bit better. So excitingly enough, I'm approaching episode number 90 of this podcast. When I get to number 100, I am going to be celebrating with you. And I've been reflecting on how this journey started and why I created the show and why connection through athletics means so much to me. Connection with people all over the world means a lot to me. Connection is one of my strongest values. And that's why I find some really different people that are on this podcast. As for example, in a coming up episode, this guy was a tennis player. But I come across such amazing people and I'm so excited to bring it to you. So, running and endurance sports changed my life. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, of course, right? And that's what this podcast is really about, the mind-body connection. And that allows ordinary people accomplishing extraordinary things. I'd never started as an athlete, definitely not professional, but I never started my life as an athlete. But I started my life with that sense of adventure. I lived in Covina, and behind our 5,000 square foot house was rolling hills. And I just loved it. And that was my sense of adventure. I rode my bike as a kid. We used to ride our bikes down the hill so we can get a ride back up to the home by the postman. Who would think of that? Anybody doing that today? Nobody, right? But I had this amazing sense of adventure. And I used to crawl over the barbed wire fence, and I have scars to prove it, to just go wander off in the hills, and then I'd come home and get grounded. And then I'd go do it again, and I'd come home and get grounded. Hilarious, right? But so many people, in that day and age, I never learned how to run. I knew how to ride a bike, right? That's easy to do. But I never learned the technique of running. Now, my younger brother did, because he was in track and field, Paul Bonnet. And he's on an earlier podcast, early in my season. So I remember riding, it was in 2000. We were coming up to the year 2000. And I rode my bike all over the world. I've ridden brevets, I've run 1,200 Ks, I've run hundreds of thousand miles on my bike. And my girlfriend and I thought, oh, let's run the CIM, let's run the marathon. Well, that was the turning point of, okay, well, let's go run. I'm going to go out. I'm going to start running. I ran a mile and it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. What was I thinking? That was the silliest thing I've ever done. But I did it. And I told myself I'm going to run till I love it, because we were going to run a marathon. So that first marathon was 4 hours and 51 minutes. And she and I just trained together. And it was I was in tears when I finished. I couldn't believe I actually ran a marathon, 26.2 miles. What was I thinking? Well, then I started doing more and more marathons. And then I got with this crazy group of people called Acme Running Club. And we were all given an animal name. And I was Cougar. But someone said, let's run a 50K. Then someone said, let's run a 50 miler. Then someone said, let's run a 100-mile. And so there you go. I become a 100-mile athlete. Met my husband after that. So I was riding long distance. I'm running long distance and seeing if I could do it. And I could do it. We can do it. When we set our mind up to anything, we can do it. And I was inspired by other people, just like I'm hoping I inspire you as well. if you're listening to this and you're not a runner, you don't have to run 100 miles. But health was one of my biggest values. It was keeping my body healthy, keeping my body strong. And prior to any of this running, I used to lift weights in the gym because I was going to raise 3 children by myself, and I needed to be strong for them. At least I felt I needed to be strong for them. So I've actually I biked hundreds of thousands of miles. I've done 15 Ironman. I have, I don't know, 50 plus 100-mile runs under my belt. I'm not counting the 200s that have done it across the years, or the 140 on Route 66. So, but I'm doing it, and I find it amazing as I get older. The inspiration that stills and the motivation that stays with me. And I invite that energy for all of you. So Western States, you know my story of 2017 Western States. I was on AJ's podcast. A lot of people talked about me. A lot of people posted about it. So that was definitely the mindset. And I didn't even think I could be an athlete. I didn't grow up being an athlete. But I had the curiosity. And that's what matters. Is as a child, don't we have curiosity in our childhood? As a kid, we were curious about this or that. I was curious about those hills. What's on the other side of that hill? I wanted to go see. I'd go out and do 5 miles and not think anything of it. Today we get all this preparation going, and we have to have all these shoes and things to do 5 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles, a marathon, and on and on. So it's being curious. That's one of our childhood memories, is being curious in life. And I listened to people's stories, and I was curious about that. That's what motivated me to get into this. And now I'm curious about how my body recovers. And so I've even taken on back-to-back 100 miles. I'd come and run Javelina 100, which I'm going to be doing I've done that 15 times. But when I was at number 8, I went back to California and ran Rio del Lago back-to-back weekends, seeing if I could do it. The curiosity of recovery, the curiosity of my abilities, the curiosity of my physical being. And when we stay in that limelight of curiosity, life opens up. It opens up for us. And so I invite you to bring curiosity into your life. So, because what else is there to do? And so we normally have those inner critics. I remember on Western States in 2017, I remember looking at my watch and judging my pace and scared I wasn't going to make it. And knew by my pace I wasn't going to make it until I let it go. And so that was judging my pace, that was judging me, that was judging. And so when we let that negative talk go and I was in the journey, that's when life opened up. And so we have all those inner critics. We have all those sabotaging thoughts and behaviors that keep us in that fear-based mode. And so many athletes do that. So many athletes quit because they think, I'm never going to make it. But how do you know if you're never going to make it? If you give up, you don't know. And it's amazing how we can go through those ups and downs in a race, and it always comes out just how it's supposed to. For every bad situation, there's a good. For every good situation, there's a bad. And the motto goes, nothing lasts forever. Everything's temporary. Every moment is temporary. So we can't judge that we're not going to make it. If it's 2:00 in the morning and you're going so darn slow, that's okay because you're tired. It's 2:00 in the morning. Some people don't do well at night. I do because I'm always afraid I'm not going to make it. But I always do because I'm resilient. I'm persistent. I'm curious. But so many people don't. And it's amazing how the mind works and your body clock works so you can go through that low period and then you'll come out of it when day breaks. It's amazing. You're all of a sudden a new person. And how fast can you run? And so it's being in the why of why are you doing what you do? Why do I want to run 100 miles? Because I just think the adventure is beyond any other thing. We could spend all day out in nature. And how good is that? There's so many moments that in our 100 miles, in our events, in our runs, in our biking, in our triathlons, we have those moments of, everything just wants to stop. Your body hurts, this hurts, that hurts. But when you continually think about that, you keep perpetuating that feeling and you focus on that. Our legs may hurt, our stomach might get upset, you're going to get tired, your mind starts whispering all these things. Oh, I can't do this. I'm not strong enough. I should just quit. But no, these are the voices of your saboteurs. These are the voices of that inner critic thinking you're going to keep you small, And that's not who we are. So in the mental fitness world is learning how to recognize those voices and shift your focus and return to the present moment. And looking at my watch and judging my pace and putting myself down that I'm never going to be fast enough and saying, forget that. Enjoy the sound of the river, being in nature, and just be on the journey. And if I didn't shift that, I would never have been finishing with 9 seconds. And no, it wouldn't have been faster. Because when you're in the present moment, there's something powerful that happens. You stop fighting the race. You stop fighting yourself. You start moving through it and being in the moment. And that's powerful. Even when your legs are hurting or you're tired, I'm going to go more with your legs or your feet hurting. Because if you can just ignore that and stop focusing on that, and there's a great example that's happened to me when I come upon somebody and we start talking. It's amazing how all of a sudden how my feet aren't hurting anymore or my legs aren't tired. It's just amazing how we can have that energy. And that's actually being in the present moment because I stopped focusing on what was wrong with me and do it. Take that moment and do it. This lesson can apply to every part of your life. It can impact your career. It can impact your relationships. It impacts every aspect of your life. And that's mental fitness isn't just for athletes. It's for us being the best version of ourselves. It's you being the best version of you. You sign up for a race. You sign up for an event. You're going to do a board meeting, whatever. You do it because you have a why behind that. What is your why? Why are you doing the things you do? And if you don't know, you're welcome to get on a discovery call with me. I'll post it in the show notes on the YouTube channel. But it's really knowing our why and our purpose. And my why is my sense of adventure and the health of my body. And I'm just thrilled where I'm at in my life right now, that my body still performs phenomenally. And I'm in extreme health, extremely good health, because I'm not fighting it in the races anymore. I'm not fighting that judging myself anymore. I'm taking on that curiosity of as a kid and bringing that into my life. So what is my next event? That curiosity of running 250 miles. Cocodona 250. I will post a podcast after that. So the other reason for running this podcast is because I remember why did I want to? And it took me a year to start it because I had that inner critic going. Well, what am I going to talk about? What's going to happen? Who wants to be on my podcast? It took me a year because I was in my own sabotaging thought process. But I thought, there's so many men running podcasts for athletes and they talk to all the big top runners and I love listening to them. But there's not a woman who does a podcast for runners who's in that 95% group. And that's where I'm at. And so it's our stories. It's knowing our stories because when I finished with 9 seconds, the only thing you saw was me finishing 9 seconds, a 100-mile race. But what went on there? It's the journey that goes on those races that are the stories that are inspiring others to step out of their comfort zone. And I invite you to join me, message me, email me. Let's get you on my podcast. So let's hear your story because stories matter. The mid-pack runners matter. The brand new runners matter. That first marathoner matters because these are people going out of their comfort zone and taking on something they never imagined they could do. And that's exactly what I did. Who would think? Who would have thought I would have been a 100-mile runner and where I'm at in life? I wasn't even an athlete in high school, but I had that adventure, that sense of adventure when I was a kid. So the other thing that I love doing this podcast is because I'm connecting with people. I connect with people on runs and I'm like, hey, I start chatting with them and learn who they are. Do you want to be on my podcast? It's my sense of connection and I get to learn. I get to meet so many amazing people and I get to share it with you as well. So there's one thing that that is one of my biggest values in life, and that's connection. It might look like an individual sport, but really our accomplishments about being a big endurance goals, we're not alone. We're together. We're connected because we have crews, we have pacers, we have friends, we have mentors. We have all these people that are backing us. And even if you think you're alone, when you get out on one of those races, you're around all these people. And that's so much fun because we're in nature and we have all those people. So I have a couple of I've been able to connect. So remember, connection is my strongest value. I've been able to connect to a couple of really great affiliates. Affiliate is somebody who I can promote on my website and give my guests a 15% discount. So my one affiliate, he's the brother of the RD for Western States, Chris Thornley, and he's the owner of Squirrel Nut Butter. So if you're an endurance athlete, but even an athlete, anybody, you know those small things that can make a huge difference over long distances, a marathon, even a 10K. So one of the products I personally rely on is Squirrel's Nut Butter. This is for runners, cyclists, and endurance athletes. Chafing is a major issue, men and women. And squirrel nut butter is an all-natural anti-chafing solution that helps you protect your skin during long events, training sessions, and races. It's made with simple ingredients, and that's what attracted me the most and has become a staple for many endurance athletes. One of the things I love about squirrel nut butter is the ingredients of their product is natural. I love that. So I will have an affiliate link I will post in the show notes for squirrel nut butter for you to get 15% off your purchase. Okay, the next one is Vespa Fuel. Now in 2015, I was introduced to Vespa, and I was introduced to two things. Vespa was second, but first was the Grand Slam. And I was like, what's the Grand Slam? So I was in Western States, that's obviously, and somebody said, hey, Karen, why don't you do the Grand Slam? I'm like, what is that? And so I ran Western States, I ran Vermont, I ran Leadville, and I started the run for Wasatch. But between Vermont and Leadville, I did the Boulder Ironman, and I got a slot to Kona. That was the most exciting thing ever. That's another story in itself. But anyway, Wasatch. I was in the top of my game. I was in the best shape ever. I used Vespa Fuel on all these events, and I recovered really fast. And that's the first time I've ever done back-to-back hundreds per se over a few weeks and within a 3-month, June, July, August, and September month, and plus training for Ironman. And I, at no fault of anybody, but I was 10 miles into the run and just having the time of my life, and I stepped in a hole and the trail collapsed and I fractured my ankle. I fractured the bone on the outside of my ankle, plus had a high ankle sprain, but I didn't tear any tendons, but it put me out, unhappily so. But Vespa is designed to support fat metabolizing during endurance events, helping athletes maintain that steady energy without relying solely on sugar-based fuels. So many ultra runners use it as part of their race nutrition to help sustain performance during lasting distance efforts. So when you're out there for hours, sometimes days, fueling matters. I am an affiliate for Vespa. You get 15% off. I don't know if you'll remember this, but it's you can go to Vespa and put a coupon code Mental Fitness Edge 15, and when you buy your Vespa, and I highly recommend it. I'm using it again this year, and I'm an affiliate with them, an ambassador with them, and I am using it through my training races as well as Cocodona 250. So I'm super excited to be part of this team and Go for Nutrition and Squirrel Nut Butter. You guys will have the link in the show notes. So if there's one thing I hope listeners take away from this podcast, it's this. You are capable of more than what you think. You are. The biggest limits we face are often the ones inside of our own minds. So when you train your mind the way you train your body, incredible things become possible. And that's what Running Strong Mind-Body Connection is all about. It's stories of resilience, stories of courage, stories of everyday people stepping into extraordinary challenges. And I'm always so inspired by the people that are on my podcast and the stories they share. And I hope you are as well. So thank you for being part of this journey as we approach as I'm approaching episode 90. I'm so grateful for this community and connection. So we've created together. I'm just thrilled with everything we have here. And if this podcast has inspired you, share it with a friend who needs a reminder that they are stronger than what they think. So until next time, keep running strong. Thank you for everything. Go to the YouTube channel. Please subscribe and like this episode. I will see you, everybody. I will see all of you in my next episode. So thank you.